It's been 6 years of podcasting, and without our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to bring these podcasts to you. So I want to thank today's sponsors. And first off, we have the Pretentious Pickle Company of 190 Water Street in Plymouth. If you haven't had a chance to get down there, go down and check out what they make. They have everything pickled you can imagine, from pickled beets to carrots to mushrooms to onions to Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. They even have pickled or pickled flavor cotton candy, I should say. They make it fresh there every day, and you can go in there and check out what they have to offer. And if you're not in the Plymouth area, you can go to pretentiouspickle.com and check out what they have to offer there as well, and they will ship it out to you. Their stuff is delicious. You should check it out, and they are big fans of ours, and we are big fans of theirs. So thank you to the Pretentious Pickle Company for sponsoring today's episode. And our second sponsor today is Moonrise Cinemas. Moonrise Cinemas is a new drive-in in Plymouth, right on the Plymouth-Kingston line. They are located at 428 Court Street in Plymouth, Mass. And they offer a great selection of movies. You can go. It's very family-friendly. I went and checked out the Goonies there. They've had Marvel movies, a wide variety of stuff. And they're really starting to expand. They have had the Rocky Horror Picture Show this coming year. They're doing music on Thursday nights. On Wednesdays are going to be 420 friendly events. So make sure you check out what they have to offer, moonrisecinemas.com. It's a great venue. They have a beer garden. They have their own food. Their food's phenomenal. And they're bringing back their French toast, which I'm very excited about. So make sure you check out what they have to offer, moonrisecinemas.com. And if you use code Inebri-art when purchasing tickets, you'll get 10% off. So make sure you go to moonrisecinemas.com to get your tickets for movies, concerts, and more. And use code Inebri-art for 10% off on your purchase. And now let's jump right into the podcast.
Across the line, the Gulf Stream, I've been in Tampa Bay, around the Horn, and home again, 'cause that is the sailor's way.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. And I am joined, I'm Andy. I almost forgot, did I get my name in the last one?
Who cares? No.
That's right, it's Hannah's show. And that other voice is Hanna, our co-host. Welcome, Hanna.
Hi.
And we are joined today by Fish, our mime producer.
Nicely done.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nothing to catch up on today.
We have no ketchup.
No mustard.
No mustard.
No relish. Plain.
No mayo. That's a callback to another episode. Go back and listen to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
Oh my God, yeah. Right over my head.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That's hilarious.
Okay.
No, good job with that one.
Thanks. So, Hanna, what are we talking about today?
We are...
Okay. Well, sorry.
We'll do it now.
Yeah, okay.
No, but that was good because I almost just dove right in.
Okay.
So, trigger warning.
Yes.
To this, it is going to be... I'm not going to make it graphic, but I am going to give the facts as they are.
Yes.
So, if you have anything that... It's just not for young children, right? And I would say if you have any... I don't know.
PTSD type issues?
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to phrase it correctly, but it's going to be involving...
Murder of a young person.
Yeah, murder of a young person. That is just very brutal. So please, if you're someone who doesn't want to listen to that, just skip this episode.
Yeah, but also with true crime podcasts being the way so popular they are.
Well, some people avoid them like the plague, and we
Do they really?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, everyone I talk to listens to them.
It is such a popular thing right now, but there are some people who just don't want to listen to how
I'm not a fan.
Awful things happen.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, so, and we don't always do a true crime podcast.
No. But we've had a couple that were,
couple, but they're a little bit more mild. And I think anytime you have a situation where there's a child...
Yeah.
And it's fairly recent, like we were talking about.
Yeah, it's about 30 years ago.
Yeah. So,
So you're warned.
Just a heads up.
All right. That gave you enough time to shut off the podcast. But come back for... Oh. Sorry, you're already gone.
So we're going to be talking about the murder of Melissa Benoit from Kingston.
Kingston, yep.
Yes. She was born August 29th, 1977. She lived right off Main Street in Kingston with her mom, Diane, and her 11-year-old little sister, Erin.
And she lived directly across the street from the police station.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, am I jumping ahead?
No, you're not.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was like directly.
It's like...
But pretty much.
Pretty close,
yeah.
you know.
So reports say that Melissa was just a soft-spoken, quiet, nice girl. She was young. She was 13.
Yep.
And she attended 8th grade at Sacred Heart at the time she disappeared. So it was September 15th, 1990. It was a Saturday, in case you were wondering.
I did not know that.
Yep. And she went missing and was last seen leaving her friend's house after watching TV around 2:30. I had to look up what day it was because I knew it was during the school year. And I was like, she was already watching TV at 2:30. So I just got interested and figured it was a weekend. And it was.
Oh, it was. Okay, yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Just one of those little things.
That's your little detective mind working
Yeah,
there.
I just had to figure it out because I was like, did she miss school or something? And no, that wasn't the case. It was just a Saturday. And just thinking of that time in life when you're in 8th grade and you don't have too many worries, but the world is starting to unveil itself to you, right?
Yep.
But you still get to spend a Saturday afternoon at your friend's house just watching TV.
Yeah.
I think it's just like one of those things you can look back on and just be like,
yeah,
man.
you kind of your real responsibilities are pretty small.
Yeah.
So you can still kind of, you're not a kid, but you're adjacent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I just thought that was like, I don't know, not unique, but something we've all experienced.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And her friend's house was within 50 feet of her own, so very close to that part of the neighborhood. And
did it give her friend's name?
It didn't in any of the things I saw. And her friend would have been underage too. So
yeah. Well, no, because we had this conversation
Yeah.
prior to, I was having this conversation with a good friend of mine, and she's like, "I knew that girl. I grew up with that girl." My best friend lived next door to her.
Oh,
we
okay.
used to all play together.
Yeah.
So it may very well have been that girl's, and I think it was that girl's house.
Okay.
I don't remember that girl's name.
Yeah, it wasn't listed anywhere.
Yeah.
And I will say, getting into this topic, I remember when I first brought it up to you guys, because I think it was there's always something that makes someone nuts about true crime, and this is that for me.
Okay.
And I remember when I wanted to do it as an episode originally, it was when I first joined the podcast.
Yeah.
And
it's like one of the first things on our list.
And this is like, and not that, I think every time I go back and listen to what I say, how I say it, and I try to make it a little bit better next time. And I remember going into this story, and because it's reported on mostly just through like newspaper clippings that were maybe 5 paragraphs long at best.
Yeah.
Some small news clips, and it's not a really super well-known of our area. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd say you're hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't know about this, but it's not recognized nationally.
Oh, no.
Like a lot of things are. Like
Like
there's
a
some
John Benet Ramsey kind of thing.
Right, exactly. So, and was it at the time? Yeah, it was definitely a huge story at the time. But looking back on it, no, it hasn't received that much attention from the true crime world. So, getting all the stuff together, I remember I was like overwhelmed because it's so PC.
Wow. Okay.
It's so PC.
Huh. PC as in pieces, not politically correct.
No. So regardless, that was just one of the challenges I remember looking at when this came out. So, not when this came out, because I would have been
like
6 months old.
Okay.
But when...
Jeez, you weren't reading the newspaper yet?
Yeah, sorry. So her friend's house, like I said, was within 50 feet.
Yeah.
And she left there with the intention to go visit her father's grave. So her father had passed away about a year before the day she disappeared.
Yep.
And the cemetery's right there, too.
Right. And so my friend said that
it's evergreen.
the three of them used to always go up and play in the graveyard and hang out in the graveyard. That was like a very common thing.
It's a very hangable graveyard, too. I know I'm just one that does that anyway, but it really is very like pedestrian friendly.
I think she said there was like a convenience store or a playground or something not too far that they kind of used the graveyard as like a cut through.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Several convenience stores near there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a playground at one point. So that was her last known whereabouts, was leaving her friend's house. So Alan Ballinger was a newly promoted Kingston police chief, I think 2 months in.
Okay.
And he took a very high-profile approach with this when she was reported missing. Held press conferences. News outlets blasted Melissa's info, asking anyone who might know anything who may have seen her to please come forward with information. There was a $10,000 reward. And it was the very classic, like, have you seen me? Her photo and age description and all that.
And this is before Amber Alerts and cell phones and...
was it before Amber Alerts? I'll think a few years before. It wasn't that long after, though.
Really? I thought Amber Alerts were much newer.
I feel like it was 94.
1996.
Ah, so close.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow. All right, I take it back.
Yeah, it wasn't that long after. So high profile, too. Like I said, it was nationally known. So one of the articles I read was, like, Los Angeles Times.
Yeah.
So not to say it didn't make it all over the country then. It's just certainly a little less high profile now due to its just, I don't know, like...
Well, it's that proximity thing.
Yeah.
You know? It's like someone in California is going to forget because they're not going to drive by that house
all the time.
And drive by and go, oh, I remember what happened there.
Yeah, so true. Search efforts were giant. The town of Kingston, I think at the time, maybe had 5,000 residents, and there was a majority of them taking part in search efforts. The FBI was assisting with the investigation, as well as the NEMPB.
Do we know what that is?
New England Missing Persons Bureau, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't write that down. You just
remember
that? I just
That's
knew
impressive.
that I could put it together when you called for that information. And over 1,000 citizens, like at any given time that they were doing it. So doing a ground search in that area. Among the people volunteering was Henry Meinholz.
Yep.
Am I saying his name right? That's how my dad said it.
Yep.
Okay, I just want Henry Meinholz Jr. And he was her neighbor.
Yep. Now, I'm trying to remember. As you drive by the houses, there's like
it was the brick house was his.
The brick house is in front, and like her house is like tucked
Kind of
down a
by the
long
yes.
driveway, almost like it's in his backyard.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it. Very close.
Yeah.
And he took part in volunteering for the searches.
Yeah.
Also, he was a bookkeeper for Goodrich Lumber.
Okay.
And a former church deacon. He was a church deacon for 20, 30 years or something like that. He's 52, married with 2 children that were older. They weren't like Melissa's age. They were grown, pretty much. And the FBI decided for this case that they were going to ask the neighbors to do a lie detector test.
Okay.
And so that's how they got Meinholz into...
Take a lie detector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because just everyone was doing it. Because why wouldn't you want to help out this family that's your neighbor?
Right. And if you're the only neighbor not taking one...
A little suspicious.
That's shady.
So he did it, and he was acting suspicious while he did it.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that he failed it, but also that they just took so much cues and like notes from his actual mannerisms and how he was acting because he was just acting so suspicious.
Like if you got a DUI, they ask you out to take a field sobriety test and you fall face first into the pavement because you're so drunk. It's like you failed even though you didn't really take it.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what happens. And then so from there, he had so much about his history come to light because they found this person that was super suspicious, acting weird. So one of the things he said, the reasons he gave for acting suspicious was because he fantasizes about girls.
Yeah.
And so the questions they were asking made him nervous because he was in the wrong in some way.
Okay.
That was his excuse.
That was his excuse.
Yes. He had 2 daughters in 1979. Like I said, he had 2 daughters in 1979. He was accused of molesting one of them.
Okay.
And that same year, child welfare came and removed that daughter from their home.
Oh, okay.
So it was confirmed.
Yeah.
Just to give you a little bit more background, because I believe it sounds like that came out to light after they kind of recognized him as a suspect.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, he also did XYZ. So that's that's weird.
Okay.
We should definitely keep looking into this
Yeah.
guy. Police obtained a warrant to search his house because of all this and ended up finding Melissa's body in Meinholz's basement 11 days after she went missing.
Okay. So I do have some other information.
Please tell.
And again, this is from someone who was friend of Melissa's.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, it is what it is. So she said that Henry, right, was kind of like this, old guy, and would, like, when they were little kids, would, like, push him on the swings and whatever. And she's like, never, like, really clicked until you start to get older, and then you're like, he's just weird.
Yeah.
And creepy. And she also said that the wife had called the police and said, you need to come to the house.
Okay.
And my husband has something to tell you, and bring a shovel.
Cool.
So I'm not sure if that's 100% true, if that's like kind of like, those kind of rumors that circulate through the town.
It wasn't anything I saw.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was the PCest story I've ever had to figure out.
So my understanding was he failed the lie detector test.
Yeah.
But lie detector tests aren't, awesome.
Right.
And not enough to convict someone. And then shortly after that, the wife then called the police. And so I don't know if she discovered something, knew something, he confessed to her.
Yeah. I don't. So. It's. I think in a circumstance like this, where it is so close to home and so close to us and so close to you, hearing that,
it was so weird having that conversation.
Yeah, hearing that, it's like, it's probably true.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Allegedly.
It's probably allegedly true.
Right.
And I don't think we have to say allegedly, because we're not accusing anyone of doing anything
no,
wrong.
I know. I just like adding that on at this point.
Okay.
You've taught me to.
Yeah, usually when you're accusing someone of something, like...
Yeah. Just,
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
11 days after she went missing. So, which, speaking of digging, I believe... I was a little confused reading this, but there was a point where they started digging in his yard.
I think that
to see if there were more bodies.
Oh, really?
But it also, I read another thing, just like they went right down to the basement, but it seemed like, were they looking for more bodies, or did they start there first?
Right.
It was a little confusing.
I don't know.
Because if the wife was like, there's something in the basement or whatever, like...
Right.
Anyway, just something of note. It wasn't just the only place they searched. They searched his whole house. They had a warrant.
Yeah.
Things were happening. So, her body was in a shallow grave in the basement. It's an old house, dirt floor basement. And it was under dirt and coal. Her hands and feet were bound with rope, and there was evidence of a struggle and likely sexual assault. The murder occurred in his garage, and Meinholz tried to clean it up, but they were able to find, and this was like reported from a detective who was on it after the fact, or an FBI agent that was on it after the fact.
Yeah.
They said he like washed everything, but they found blood in the floorboards, like in between the cracks in the floorboards and
Yeah.
stuff. You know, where
blood
any liquid
yeah.
could get into,
Yeah.
dried, leading from the garage and then into his basement. And the cause of death was likely asphyxiation. And Meinholz was arrested that day
Yeah,
with good reason.
obviously.
That's just a really blanket statement.
Yeah.
And then while in custody, at some point while he's in custody, I don't know if this is coming out during the court case or just in between that, because it took almost like a year for this to be resolved in court.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean the court case took a year. I just mean by the time it got to court, right?
Yeah.
So he had some interim time. So while he was in custody, at some point in that period, he admitted to molesting children for 3 decades, and that there was a family history of incest. In an anonymous report, so someone telling
Yeah.
either a reporter or an officer this, 10 years prior to Meinholz, Meinholz raped it said, quote, young woman. I'm going to assume it was a girl.
Yeah.
If someone is under 18, they are a child,
Right.
not a young woman.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to assume it's that. And at knife point, and it said at a fair in Marshfield. So
The Marshfield.
the Marshfield Fair.
Yeah.
So who wrote it probably wasn't from this area, but
Yeah.
and he also would expose himself and perform lewd acts while stalking young girls.
Okay.
And so not that they could see, but
Right.
he would
Oh, okay. I
be
got you.
lurking
Yeah.
and stalking them.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
I'm just like, how did
How did no one see it? It's
right? Like, how
because
did this not?
It wasn't like out in the open,
Right,
but he would be
Yeah.
in public.
Yeah.
Right? And he would follow school buses and watch where girls got off the bus where
Yeah.
they
That
were going
was
home.
that was one thing that my friend said, that like they would be waiting for the school bus and he would just be kind of standing there watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also would make really gross, inappropriate phone calls.
Oh, okay.
The days of the white pages.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and this is like, this was probably the time of like star 6-9 and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, but not caller ID.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm assuming he did this prior to that, so
Yeah.
it would have been
right.
even untraceable,
Right.
more or less.
Exactly. So the trial, when that came
Yeah.
around, it consisted of a jury of 8 women, 4 men, tried by Judge Cortland Mathers,
Okay.
which sounded very colonial to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I thought that was just for the
The way you
area.
were saying it, I'm like, am I supposed to know who that is?
Yeah, I think for the where we live,
Yeah.
I found it interesting that we got someone with the last name Mathers, because that's been thrown around.
And the first name Cortland.
Yeah, so
Wow, a judge, and your name is Cortland. What do they call that?
Nominative determinism.
Thank you, mime producer Fish.
he speaks.
He speaks.
So, Meinholz was represented by defense attorney Jack Atwood, and the ADA on that case was Joseph Goffin?
Sure.
G-H-A-N?
GHA.
Is it G8?
G-A-U-G-H-A-N.
Probably Gauguin.
Okay, sure.
Sure. All right.
And Meinholz, at first, tried to claim that there was a voice in his head telling him to...
Oh, try to do like the insanity thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
told him to kill and sexually assault Melissa.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of disturbing claims, this whole thing, this whole court case.
Yeah.
But he also considered himself to be fully conscious while doing it. So a little bit contradictory of
Okay.
like the voice thing.
Yeah.
They didn't buy it. It was thrown out. Also, because from what I've read, there wasn't enough evidence that was conclusive at the time of pressing charges, that he had sexually assaulted her. So he wasn't.
Okay. I'm like, they found the body in his house.
No, for a rape.
Okay, I got you.
So
All
him going to court was just for murder.
Just for the murder. Okay.
And not for rape.
Okay.
And they said that whenever he was called on,
Yeah.
that he seemed fully content to tell the story.
Oh, really?
Yes. And he gave a 2-hour-long testimony where he tried to say Melissa willingly participated in sexual acts.
Oh, okay.
And that he also said that she begged for her life. It's just like awful.
Ugh.
I know. He's a monster.
Yeah.
A monster. In November 24th, 1991, Meinholz was convicted of first-degree murder, the murder of Melissa Benoit. Her mom and her sister were in the front row, and over 100 onlookers were in the courtroom, and they cheered when the conviction came.
Yeah.
Meinholz and his lawyer too, like, I guess, gave some comment that like they didn't feel like they got an unfair trial at all. But I think a few years later, 5 years later, he did try to appeal it, and it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And he was sentenced to life in prison without parole and sent to Walpole. And Judge Mathers said, "Your despicable efforts to add stigma on the memory only adds to the enormity of your crime." So trying to say that there was any willingness on Melissa's part.
Yeah.
He also said that it is said that my predecessors in colonial times had gallows I don't know what I hear. Erected. I thought it said greeted. Erected on the green in front of this courthouse and summarily sent defendants convicted to be hanged. I truly regret that option is not open to me in this case.
Oof.
Yeah. And Governor Weld at the time said, "I don't think there is a case more appropriate for the death penalty." And he actually put in, attempted to pass
A death penalty.
Yeah. thing from that. So just from some notes from Melissa's family and community.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa's mom commented afterwards and said, kind of asked what they would do now.
Yeah.
Which, like, how do you even ask anyone anything after that?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't. It's like anytime there's a tragedy and the news reporter's like interviewing the person going through the tragedy, I'm like, why? Like, you're not going to learn anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, don't talk to that person.
Right. But she, I think, just seemed, as far as having such a loss, and not only that, but her husband had died, like, not long before.
Oh, right, yeah. Like the year before.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just such a extreme loss in life, and I think the comment she gave just shed some really, I don't know, light on how, just how giving she was, I guess.
Yeah.
Giving in heart and mind, kind of. So she said, "Continue our lives to the best of our ability and in any way honor Melissa." And she urged the public to remember what happened and how it united the community.
Mm-hmm.
And work towards peace for ourselves, our children, our country, our world.
Wow.
So just like a really, like...
That sounds like I'm assuming that was a prepared statement, because that coming off the cuff is...
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I just thought, regardless, to be asked in such extreme circumstances, like, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah.
And to just be able to speak so profoundly just shows a lot of strength.
Yeah.
At Melissa's services, which I don't think took place after the court case, but this is just how I kind of wanted to lay out the sentiments for it. They had taken place at the First Parish Unitarian Church. 150 family members and friends were in attendance, while hundreds of mourners were outside, and the services were like announced on speakers for people to hear outside. they hung ribbon on the trees to honor Melissa. Reverend Walter Brannan said, Melissa was one of the fiber, warp, and woof of fabric of our lives. This fiber was cut short, but it remained strong. And that's really all I have on the story of that.
Meinholz, is he
He died
dead?
in 2006.
Okay. Which, that was one of the things that, when talking to my friend also came up, and I had like one of those, what do you call it? Mandela moments where she's like, oh yeah, he died in 2006. I'm like, I could have sworn like he was murdered. Like in my brain, if you'd asked me, I would have been like, oh, they killed him like days after.
Oh, yeah. No, they didn't.
Yeah.
I think obviously that was for our area, that thing that made the parents go like, you can't trust anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You need to know where all your kids are.
Yeah.
Like it changed the way that kids went out into the neighborhood and felt safe.
Yeah. My friend said like from that point on, like, she worked at the mall, and her mother was like, you're going to have someone walk you out to your car every day. And like, it really did change people's, view.
One thing that connects me to the story, not me, but one thing that is kind of connected, and it's just as the most alleged thing I will say, because I've looked it up before.
Okay.
And I got this idea from actually a friend of mine, because I knew about this story, but I never connected it to a book that exists called The Lovely Bones,
Okay.
Oh,
which is virtually
I take
this
it
story.
Fish knows that?
it's a bestseller. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It is literally this story.
Oh, no kidding.
I have looked up when she pointed it out to me, because she called the house the Lovely Bones House, and I was like, wait, and it like was blowing my mind, because I wasn't super familiar with the Lovely Bones.
Yeah.
And then once I watched the movie, I was like, it's almost weird how similar it is to the story. That book was written after this happened.
Yeah.
And the author has never confirmed that it is from any one story.
Yeah.
She says it's a collection of things that have happened in life, but it's so eerily close to this. And the guy, Stanley Tucci, plays the neighbor in it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he's also eerily close to Meinholz, like just like the way.
Oh, like in description?
Yeah. So, it's just really weird. That's just like my last sentiment on that.
So looking into it very briefly, one, I'd forgotten this was a Peter Jackson movie.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like, I've heard of this, and this is why. But no, it looks like someone else has actually looked into this.
No, I know. I've looked into
Yeah.
it.
So, no, but like, but someone else wrote it down.
Yeah.
And not in your notebook, but like somewhere I can read it. It looks like there was also another story from Norristown, Pennsylvania, that basically the same thing happened.
Yeah. Well, she said it was a collection of real events.
Yeah, it does get a feeling that it's kind of an
amalgam of...
It's an amalgamation of the fact that this happens often enough with a lot of the same details that, like, it's very... I don't really know where to go with that, actually. But it's just, it's rough, because now it's the explanation of, oh, no, it's an amalgamation of the 15 different times I read about this, which is horrifying.
Yeah, for sure. But I've always I'm like, there's no way she didn't see this story, because it just all lined up around the time it would have been happening. So that's my one like add on to it. I've always now ever since then associated this as like
The Lovely Bones.
Yeah, exactly. And I too know so many people who are just connected to it, and I know my parents like still remember it. So I was just talking to my dad about it, and he remembers Meinholz so vividly, and said he was like the slimiest person.
Yeah.
Because I only said a fraction of the weird, creepy things.
Yeah.
He said.
Yeah. We don't need to go into great detail on that.
No, we don't.
Yeah, I remember it very vividly happening. Because again, like I didn't, live in Kingston or Plymouth at the time, but I wasn't that far away. And, she was 13 and it was what, 1990. So I would have been
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
yeah.
It's just wild.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's a really, and especially where Kingston at the time was such a small town. It is still a small town, but it's grown exponentially. But such a small town then. I just imagine it rocked the world.
And that was just one of those, like, everything about it and, like, it being so close to the police department. Because it's, like...
across the street.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It's
I
bizarre.
know. It is. You find it hard to believe it, even knowing all the details.
Yeah.
You find it harder to believe knowing all the details.
Yeah, it's like hearing the story from someone that was like so closely involved was like made it more like, I don't want to say real, but just like, holy crap, this was like affecting people I know.
Yeah.
I think it's the same reason why the Station Nightclub fire episode, it was like people I would have known and like their proximity and age, and it was all just like right there.
For sure.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's not a happy episode, but it's one I've wanted to do for a while.
Yeah, I remember we pitched it.
Yeah, it's at it was literally fourth down on the list of, it was right at the top.
Topics,
Yeah.
So we'll do a happier one next time.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, I think this is the part where we stop talking. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.